Ever since the passing of Adrian Adonis, July 4th, 1988, in Newfoundland, Canada, as you see here, the brook, where the van of the Kelly brothers ended up, which not only tragically took the life of Adrian Adonis, it also took the life of Canadian wildman Dave McKigney, and also, as you see here, Pat Kelly of the Kelly twins, his brother Mike Kelly, as you see here to the right. He survived to tell what actually happened because there's so much disinformation that's been put out there. And unfortunately, Sabu and Greg the Hammer Valentine have put out some erroneous information. And that's what this video is all about, clarifying what actually took place, again, July 4th, 1988, with the passing of Adrian Adonis, Dave McKigney, and Pat Kelly. And myself being a huge wrestling fan, going all the way back to the 80s, I recall Adrian Adonis playing the character of the tough guy from New York. Of course, this was prior to the gay gimmick. And the very first wrestling match I ever attended, and this is the actual ticket stub that I kept after all these years, from the San Francisco Cow Palace, September 17, 1985, ringside seat, seeing Adrian Adonis wrestle Mr. Wrestling 2. And to start off, I'm going to play two clips back to back from July 1988, these news stories that started some disinformation that unfortunately Greg the Hammer Valentine took as truth. And we'll get some clarification from the lone survivor, Mike Kelly, as you see here in this recent interview. He tells the story exactly what happened on the road that day that caused this crash that killed the three pro wrestlers. Let's get right to it.
Among the dead, one name in particular very well known to wrestling fans here.
The accident occurred around 9:30 last night near Lewisport, Newfoundland. A van containing 4 professional wrestlers suddenly plunged into a shallow stream. Dead is former WWF star adorable Adrian Adonis, seen here in the pink trunks. His real name is Keith Frank from Los Angeles. Also killed was Pat Kelly on the left. His twin brother Mike on the right was the only survivor of the crash. He's in serious but stable condition. The Kelly twins are from Hamilton. Perhaps their biggest claim to fame was this chocolate bar commercial shot with another professional wrestler, Mad Dog Vachon. The third to die in the crash was Dave McKigney of Aurora. His fans knew him as Wildman. His friends remember him differently.
The tiger with a heart of gold.
Kind-hearted man I've ever met. And I'll never forget the memories when I was a little girl, him picking me up, putting me on a pony. We'd go back in the woods, pick apples, bring the sacks of apples back.
For Carrie Ann Orser, the death of her stepfather completes an incredible cycle of tragedy. It was 10 years ago this past weekend that her mother was mauled to death by a bear. Wildman, her husband, kept the bear around the house and often wrestled with him in the ring. Wildman's son, 8-year-old Dave Jr., was traveling just a few cars behind his father's van when it crashed. He believes it blew a tire. Police in Newfoundland, however, are not so certain.
And these were the initial reports, the very beginning of the investigation, so it wasn't very clear to the media what exactly took place. Let's continue on here with Entertainment Tonight's coverage and disinformation of what took place with their reporting.
The adorable one, Adrian Adonis.
Adrian Adonis was one of the most colorful performers in professional wrestling, familiar to fans both for his outlandish appearance and his tremendous agility as a big man. But his career came to a sudden bizarre end here in Newfoundland when the van he was traveling in swerved to miss a moose that...
And this is where the disinfo comes in. This is very irresponsible by Entertainment Tonight, claiming a moose was in the road. We'll get into that more in a little bit.
...was blocking the road. The van plunged off a cliff, killing Adonis and 2 other wrestlers instantly. Left behind in Bakersfield, California, are Adonis' wife and 2 children.
Who is that? He loved it. I mean, that was his life. He trained for it. He worked hard. He wanted to be on top. He was on top. He went through hell to get there, but he made it.
Adonis was a flamboyant character, always sure of himself.
If you're looking at him right here, right now, the best personality right now in professional wrestling. I have to admit, I'm not trying to brag, it's just fact.
But he adopted the gimmick of wrestling in drag. and some observers say it cost him his career.
He finally went back to Japan, totally devoid of the gay gimmick. He had never done that gimmick in Japan, and he had been a big star in Japan before. He was starting to make a comeback, and he might have done fairly well there. As far as North America, he really would have had a tough time living down the gimmick.
His trainer, Bobby Davis, says he was making a comeback.
In the 6 months before he passed away, Adrian trained twice a day, 2 hours a day at Gold's Gym, trained off 127 pounds with an unbelievable dedication.
I know he's gone now, and, you know, we all go, but...
And that brings us to the first part of the disinformation. Supposedly a moose in the middle of the road, that's what caused Pat Kelly to veer off and crash into the brook. And let's take a listen once again to the clip from Entertainment Tonight. Then I'll clarify exactly what happened with objective evidence that it wasn't a moose.
When the van he was traveling in swerved to miss a moose that was blocking the road.
And that brings us to this clip with Greg the Hammer Valentine. And I'm sure, like everybody else, heard that from Entertainment Tonight, other media sources. Again, the disinfo. And once that information is passed on to the public, it's repeated. Take a listen.
And the driver saw a moose, and the moose was right out in the middle. And moose is a huge, right? Huge animal.
And here are the actual facts of what took place July 4th, 1988, in chronological order from this news article. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police think Arco, and that's referring to Pat Kelly from the Kelly twins. Pat was driving, Mike survived, may have swerved, and that's key, may have swerved to avoid a moose. So the media, referring to Entertainment Tonight, passed on to everybody else, such as Greg the Hammer Valentine, assume this means fact. It says, may have swerved to avoid a moose, causing the van to crash into the rocky embankment of Neils Brook, a body of water 15 feet wide and 1 foot deep, only a foot deep. We don't know what caused them to go off the road, whether they encountered a moose or for some other reason, McKinnon said. And this is again from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It's not uncommon for a moose to walk out onto the highway here. We continue on to a print on the website since it's cut off. But we won't be able to speak with the survivor until Friday to find out what happened. And that gets into this recent interview with the lone survivor, Mike Kelly. And he explains in detail what really was in the road that caused his brother Pat Kelly to veer off, to crash into the brook, killing his brother, Adrian Adonis, and Dave McKigney.
We were going down the highway and I saw a little bear cub. My brother, the reflection of the sun caught the side of his eye, and he had swerved to the left where the grass was. The van had gotten down in a little gully and hit this huge rock dead on.
So you heard the truth from the lone survivor, and it was a cub, a bear cub, not a moose like reported by Entertainment Tonight and repeated by Greg the Hammer Valentine. Some might say this is trivial, but for those that are interested in the truth and what really went down historically, I think it's really relevant. As far as really important details, former pro wrestler Sabu goes into details during this interview of what supposedly took place, and unfortunately he gets everything incorrect. Even though he was in Canada and was going to meet up with those other wrestlers later on for an event, his account of what took place is erroneous. It's not true, and I think it's really important, once again, to set the record straight. Let's take a listen to what Sabu has to say, and I'll make the corrections based on real reports and real investigations. Let's get right to it.
Because Adonis didn't die from the crash. He drowned it. He could have been saved. Instead of saving him, they picked him clean and then took off.
What Sabu states here is only half correct. Adrian Adonis did not drown that day. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it was only 1 foot of water. As you hear, the brook was only 1 foot of water. Doesn't mean someone can't drown in a foot of water, but the point is that's not what took place. That's complete disinformation. And let's get to the article regarding that. And this goes way back to, of course, July 1988. Let's get to the details of what took place. And right here from Rambo Sam, a wrestler and a pastor in a car that was following the van, said Victor Argo and McKigney died at the scene, while Frankie, and that is, of course, Adrian Adonis, died in the hospital at Ganter. And this news article is just one piece of the evidence disproving Sabu's claim that Adrian Adonis supposedly drowned that day. Pro wrestler Ricky Johnson, the brother of Rocky Johnson, tag team partners, and you can see Ricky in the background here, and of course the uncle of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He actually spoke with Adrian Adonis after arriving at the scene a little bit later. And just to clarify, the van that crashed off the side of the road into the brook, there was the ring truck that was behind that van. And Ricky Johnson, and as you see here, Whipper Watson Jr., of course, the son of Whipper Billy Watson, was driving a car along with Ricky Johnson. And they arrived at the scene, and they saw what happened with Adrian Adonis and the dead Pat Kelly. And, of course, as you see here as well, Dave McKigney, and the horrible act of some of the ring crew that actually stole money from Adrian Adonis. Money, jewelry, and other possessions. Those individuals took off, and you're going to hear Ricky Johnson speak upon seeing Adrian Adonis in a horrible state, still alive, unlike Sabu stating he already drowned, before being taken to the hospital, in the horrible act once again of Adrian Adonis being stolen of his possessions by the ring crew that was following the van, and they left. Let's take a listen to Ricky Johnson and as well as Mike Kelly giving their account to what really took place. Let's take a listen.
Seen the van in the water, and I said, that looks like the Kelly's van. I knew it well. I went down there with him in it, so.
Adrian Adonis was in bad shape. He was in real bad shape. The bear man died instantly.
Adrian, he was moaning, help me, help me, help me. I remember Adrian's elbow. All you could see was the bone sticking out of it.
So clearly, Ricky Johnson's account of what took place, obviously an actual eyewitness, matches with the news article where it states Adrian Adonis died at the hospital. He did not drown. So I just want to, again, clarify for historical reasons so people really know what took place. Now, getting back to the horrible incident, and play that clip as well, as far as Adrian Adonis being robbed of his possessions, according to Ricky Johnson. Let's take a listen.
Because a couple of road guys that worked for Dave McKigney, the bear man, they jumped in the water also. And they robbed Adrian. They took his money, watch, whatever valuables he had.
Now let's take a listen to Adrian Adonis' wife, B. Frankie, talk about Adrian Adonis being robbed and the horrible act of these individuals stealing from a badly injured Adrian Adonis.
They were arrested. Yes, I did want to press charges.
And here's an actual news article going way back regarding the individual that robbed the nearly deceased Adrian Adonis. An Ontario man chose trial by judge and jury when he appeared in provincial court Tuesday to face a charge of stealing money from a professional wrestler who died. And it continues on here. His name is Robert Leslie James, 30, of St. Catharines, Ontario, is charged with theft of over $1,000 and public mischief. And it goes on to say he was released on bond. What a piece of garbage. Instead of helping Adrian Adonis while he was dying, he stole from him. And this is a big piece of the puzzle that's left out in a lot of documentaries and stories of what took place with Adrian Adonis. And that gets back to Sabu with more disinformation that the driver, Pat Kelly, was drunk.
Drunk as hell. They drive off the cliff, go out 100-foot embankment into a pond or a creek.
So again, that's what Sabu states here about basically the driver, Pat Kelly, being drunk. Let's listen to Mike Kelly give his account. If anybody was on drugs or was drunk prior to the crash?
No drugs, no alcohol. The doctors had checked all that on me, and that there was no.
And nobody was drinking in the van?
Definitely not. No, definitely not.
If that wasn't true, what he says, obviously the autopsy reports will come back if there's any drugs or alcohol in the system of his brother, Pat Kelly, the driver. So again, just clarifying everything, getting past the disinfo, specifically with Sabu, who unfortunately is not speaking the truth and is basically just making up stuff. And that's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate with a tragic situation with not only Adrian Adonis, who passed away, and here you see his actual closed casket funeral, Mike Kelly's brother Pat Kelly, who passed, and of course Dave McKigney. And we have no idea what happened with the bear after this tragic situation. And taking a look at Adrian Adonis' funeral, it's good to see colleagues in the pro wrestling industry show up. You see Roddy Piper, Bob Orton, again, former colleagues paying the due respect to Adrian Adonis. Here you see Adrian Adonis tagging with the Hart Foundation and Adonis versus Piper during WrestleMania 3 and the unfortunate passing of them all. And Adrian Adonis, and here you see his tombstone. Very sad. A real wrestling legend. For anybody that watched him wrestle from WWF, AWA, and of course Japan, where he was legendary as well. A very sad situation and a tragic ending to a wrestling legend.
I don't wanna die out here in the valley. Everybody gets high, everybody gets low, and everyone's eyes are blue. Everyone's eyes are blue.